Hey, let me ask you a question. Why do people want to change? Well, people change their clothes when it gets dirty, and people change light bulbs when it burns out. Or we change ourselves to be a different person. So outward change can be really easy, but inner change can be really difficult. But the main motivation that we have is our relationships.
When I was younger, I loved playing soccer. I'd always kick the ball as hard as I could to the other side of the field. It made me feel really strong, and people looked up to me for being able to kick it so far. So one day, I kicked the ball as hard as I could, and I accidentally hit my friend on his head, and he fell down, and he started crying. We won't change anything that we feel comfortable with unless we actually see how we hurt people around us. In order to push ourselves to go outside of our comfort zone, we gotta pray. I'm Kenzo, and this is Deep Spirituality. Mark 1:35-37 in the Amplified Version says, "The next morning, Jesus got up long before daylight, left the house while it was still dark, and made his way to the secluded place to give himself to prayer. Later, Simon and his friends searched for him, and when they finally tracked him down, they told him, 'Everyone is out looking for you. They want you.' What the scripture is saying is Jesus got up early and left the house so far that people started looking for him and couldn't even find him. When you're trying to change something, you gotta have focus. When you're going out to pray, you gotta pick a spot where you can concentrate and talk to God alone, because then you can let it all out. Psalms 32, verse 3-7 in the ERV says, "Lord, I prayed to you again and again, but I did not talk about my sins, so I only became weaker and more miserable. I became like a dry land in the hot summertime. But then I decided to confess my sins to the Lord. I stopped hiding my guilt and told you about my sins, and you forgave them all."
What the scripture is talking about is pretty much somebody who's really emotionally vulnerable with God. Somebody who says what it is, like just being real with God, how he feels, what he thinks. Do you have emotional prayers like that? That's really how you become closer with God, is when you have emotional breakthroughs like that, where you're just talking about everything that's going on with your life.
Jonah 2, verse 7-10 in the ERV, it says, "My soul gave up all hope, but then I remembered the Lord. I prayed to you, and you heard my prayers in your holy temple. Some people worship useless idols, but those statues never help them. I will make special promises to you, and I will do what I promise. Salvation only comes from the Lord." Then the Lord spoke to the fish, and it vomited Jonah out of its stomach onto the dry land. Jonah was scared to talk about God to the people who he felt wouldn't listen to him, so he ran away from God. So what does God do? He gave him some time to pray inside the fish. He was feeling so much fear and anxiety because he didn't want to believe that he was capable of doing what God wanted him to do. All he was thinking about was how he was being affected in the situation, instead of all these people who didn't have a chance to get to know God. But through his prayer, he was willing to see his predicament in God's perspective.
So lastly, we gotta think about the why and the motivation behind the change.
Philippians 2, verse 1-4 in the NLT, it says, "Is there any encouragement from belonging to Christ? Any comfort from his love? Any fellowship together in the Spirit? Are your hearts tender and compassionate? Then make me truly happy by agreeing wholeheartedly with each other, loving one another, and working together with one mind and purpose. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too."
So after you've prayed for change, you gotta ask yourself, do you feel loved by God? Are you grateful for everything that he's done for you? Because if you don't understand how much he cares about you, you're never gonna be willing to go through difficult situations in order to change. To truly change something, you gotta see how you affect other people around you and your relationships. If you wanna pray for lasting change, you wanna understand what's stopping you and why you haven't made a decision yet. So try to have faith and make a decision today.